Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Mr. Rainey. Happy birthday to you.
At this time, it's my honor and my pleasure to introduce the Mayor of Georgetown, the Honorable Carol Giroux.
Thank you very much. Thank you for being here on this beautiful afternoon. Born in Georgetown 192 years ago today. Today is Joseph Rainey's birthday. We stand here in this park named for Joseph Rainey. This was named in 1983 to pay homage again to this brave and extraordinary man. Being the third oldest city in our state, we are filled with history, and Joseph Rainey alone was a history maker. What a feat to be elected the first African American to the United States of Representatives. Absolutely. As Georgetonians, we are proud to claim him as our native son. Today, centuries later, we pay tribute to him for the accolades and accomplishments he achieved. With this plaque that we will be unveiling shortly, others will come to learn of him and his successes and achievements.
Lord, we thank you that many years ago, we came together to dedicate this park in honor of the late Joseph H. Rainey. And here we are paying tribute to him once again. Today we reflect, we remember, and lift up high the love, the labor, and the legacy of this great leader. A man who loved deeply, labored faithfully, and left us a legacy of freedom and hope behind.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
On behalf of the Georgetown County Republican Party, I thank you for being here to recognize and honor the life and accomplishments of Georgetonian Joseph Rainey on his birthday. It's been a year's journey to get us here today. Last year we were discussing how to honor Congressman Rainey, and after renting an office in the building that's adjacent to Rainey Park, it was very apparent that many people visit this park, especially since the Charters of Freedom are here and the Harriet Tubman statue was here also. We realized that there was nothing on this park that informed the public who Congressman Rainey was and why this park was named after him. So it set us on that path. Like everyone has said, he was the first African American that served in the U.S. House of Representatives. He was a true trailblazer for the country, our state, and our city, always working for equal protection under the law. He's very deserving of high honor and recognition.
I have to also make an announcement because there are some people, we're talking about history, and we know that in Gullah there's been here, come here. A lot of come heres have come here. But you should know that on March the 20th of 1993, that was 31 years ago, this park, it just didn't happen. It wasn't just the city that woke up and said we need to tribute. This park was the hard work of the Delta Sigma Phi, the Deltas, and I want you to give them a hand. I also want to say that on that day was my first time meeting, and I'm so disappointed that he's not here today for whatever reason. But they invited Congressman James Clyburn, and he spoke on that program eloquently, and I've written about it in my book, and I've talked to him many times. He was a good friend of my late father. But that particular day, which was March the 20th, 1993, he became only our second congressman in the state of South Carolina. There was Joseph Haynes Rainey until 1878, and guess what? It took 100 more years before we got a congressman. And I'm going to say it the way it is, because of gerrymandering, we did not have a black congressman. All right. So it was only fitting that he should be here, but he's not. I pray that Lorna Rainey shows up, because as far as I'm concerned, this is she. Joseph Haynes Rainey is arguably the greatest Georgetown ever. There is a PSA, a public service announcement, that I'm sure you all have seen. It's quite ubiquitous. And it's a guy that says, I'm an actor, and I've been given 12 seconds to talk about driving and drinking. Have you all seen that commercial? All right. Well, I'm no actor. I'm a historian. I've been given 3 minutes to talk about Joseph Haynes Rainey. Thank you, Al. I was even given a script, which surprised me, because I think I know a little bit about Rainey. But I wrote my own script, and here it goes. Joseph Haynes Rainey was born an ordinary man under subordinary conditions, but he rose to extraordinary heights. 2 roads diverged in his woods, and I said Joseph Haynes Rainey, I chose the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. Now, given the choice of taking life low road or high road, Rainey chose life high road. Compared to his peers, Rainey lived a relatively good life before the Civil War. As a free black man, he had an education, he had a good paying job, and he had a semblance of freedom. But then the war broke out, and Rainey was forced to fight for the Confederate, which went against his core beliefs about slavery. Realizing that if the South had won, that he was probably going to lose his freedom, so he and his wife escaped to Bermuda, where they prospered financially and in business. But after the war, Rainey could have remained in Bermuda because they were doing quite well. But he chose to come back to Georgetown to help his people who were quite destitute. During the dark days following the war, chaos ruled. Blacks were free, but only in body only. They were hopelessly lost with few directions to turn and even fewer people to guide them. Whites were equally stagnated with the added weight of bitterness because they had lost the war. But that year, millions of Americans needed sound leadership from their leaders, and Joseph Haynes Rainey stepped in to fill the void. Hear me now. In 1868, in 1868, he helped write what is arguably the best constitution that South Carolina had ever seen. Rainey was part of a group of legislators that came to be known as the Radical Republicans, who were charged with being ignorant and unfit to govern. But nothing could have been further from the truth. Many of the rights that were written in 1868 Constitution are still enjoyed even to this day. For the first time, all males over 21 could vote. State officials were now elected rather than appointed. Each county was represented in the House by its population rather than riches. A Bill of Rights was included in the Constitution. People could no longer be jailed for their debt. The property of married women could not be taken away to pay or satisfy the debt of their husband. A free and public school system was established. Blacks could now attend college, and the state of South Carolina could now borrow money for public projects, railroads, canals, and bridges. But being a national U.S. congressman, Rainey went beyond, I say beyond helping South Carolinians. He fought for Native Americans. He fought for Asian Americans. He fought for Black Americans, writing the first anti-terrorist law. That is also known as the KKK law. He wrote the first civil rights law with Charles Sumner of Massachusetts. He fought for the appropriations for Fort Sumner and Fort Moultrie to keep it open, and even fought for ex-Confederates to regain their rights, political rights. Yes, Joseph Haynes Rainey was forced to live in a universe of adversity where his common dignity was routinely denied, but somehow he kept his integrity. He was faced with brutal unkindness, but the man suffered not the disease of possibility blindness, but he said to himself, I am somebody. Well, many times he got knocked down, but Joseph Haynes Rainey was not so defeated that he no longer wished to try. The man saw his problems as a God-ordained opportunity that was cleverly disguised as an obstacle for him to rise up to meet it. He took all of life's broken wings and he learned to fly. Joseph Haynes Rainey governed his mouth. He disciplined his disappointment. He rolled up his sleeves and he went to work for all Americans. So listen to me now. Those of you who've been writing all over Facebook and whatever, oh, that was one good article, Steve, but you forgot to mention that he was a Republican. Well, we're not going to let you change the narrative. We're no longer wish that he saw the problem. We're not going to let you tarnish the man image by cheap, I say cheap, political tricks. Millions of blacks were bombed and beaten and lynched and for all of Jim Crow. And I said no political party was there to rescue them. Not Republicans, not Democrats, not conservatives, and not liberals. The only thing that helped us was God Almighty. We put our trust in him, and he never let us down. All right? Now, when I think of Joseph Haynes Rainey, I think of all of the words that Dr. Martin Luther King once played at his funeral. He said, and it was played at his funeral. He said, if any of you are around when I have to meet my maker, I don't want you to mention that I have a Nobel Prize. That's not important. I don't want you to mention that I got 400 awards. That's not important. But I'd like somebody to mention that Martin Luther King tried to help somebody. I'd like you to mention that Martin Luther King tried to help humanity. And when I think of Joseph Haynes Rainey, I can hear him saying, Steve, don't mention the fact that I helped write one of the best constitutions. Steve, don't mention the fact that I was the first black congressman. Steve, don't mention the fact that I served longer in Congress during Reconstruction than anybody. But I want you to mention, Steve, that I tried to help somebody. I did try to feed the hungry. I did try to clothe the naked. I did try to visit the home. I want somebody to say that I tried to do right. And serving and all of the other little shallow things does not matter. I'd like to mention that, yes, if you want to say that Rainey was a drum major, say that he was a drum major for justice. Say that he was a drum major for peace. Say that he was a drum major for righteousness. But don't say that he was just a Republican, because Rainey was no more for a Republican than Dr. King was for black. Both Dr. King and Joseph Haynes Rainey were for all of America. That's what I wanted to say.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you all so much for being here. This is a beautiful turnout in tribute to my great-grandfather. Just one great on his birthday. And I want to thank you, Mr. Joseph, for extending the invitation to me. I know there were a lot of people who were involved in making this day a reality. I don't know all of you, but I feel all of you. So I have a few words that I'd like to say today. You know, most of the time when babies are born, there is a spirit of joy and happiness around them, which is celebrated by their parents, their family, their friends. But when Joseph was born, he was born into slavery. And on that day, his father Edward promised his wife, Gracia, that his children would not grow up in slavery. And 10 years later, he kept that promise, and they left the reservation, I'm sorry, I'm also a native, left the plantation and moved to Charleston. So here's what I've written. I'll probably digress from some of it, and hopefully you'll find most of it informative and perhaps even entertaining. First of all, it's always a pleasure to be here in Georgetown, a place which great-grandfather loved so dearly. First, I'm so grateful to everyone who worked to make this plaque dedication a reality. Having been here several times before, I was struck by the beauty of this place and so appreciative that such a gorgeous parcel of land was set aside in his honor. That speaks volumes about the esteem in which you hold him and what he did for his constituents. Please permit me to share 3 words which I feel embody the spirit of the man. First of all, potential. Every one of us wants to strive to fulfill our potential. We've each been gifted by the Creator with many attributes, and yet we don't utilize all of them. When we do, are we putting them to our best use? Is what we do to fulfill our potential benefiting others or harming them, preventing them from reaching theirs? Joseph Rainey recognized his own potential and decided to use it to benefit the less educated, more marginalized, and those easily dismissed from the decision-making process. He sought to change that by becoming part of the process, and in doing so, he worked from the inside out to effect positive change to those who needed it most. In his own words, we simply desire that we shall be recognized as men, that we have no obstacles placed in our way. And I believe that when he was in Bermuda, that's when he actually realized the potential of all people, including people of color, because slavery had been abolished in Bermuda about 30 years before he got there. Determination. In each of our lives, there will be people and conditions which are a deterrent to our goals. But it's determination which decides whether we prevail or fail. From the stories I heard on my great-aunt's knee about her father's accomplishments and everything I've learned about him since, I know determination played a critical role in his successes. No matter what he was faced with, as Mr. Williams so eloquently said, whether verbal or physical assaults, he never quit. When I'm faced with hurdles which seem insurmountable, I think about him, one lone man, black man, walking into the House chamber on December 12, 1870, surrounded by a sea of his peers who mostly did not consider him so. And he inspires me. Surely, if he could be born a slave and ascend to a seat in the United States House of Representatives, surely I cannot let anyone stop me. He's in my DNA. I've built one of the most successful talent management businesses in the industry, which started with my last $50 and supplies from an Office Depot. And a little more about determination. Even hip replacement surgery could not stop me from being here to honor this man whom Georgetown loves to this day. And the last word is legacy. The enduring legacy of Congressman Rainey is one we can all be proud of. He blazed a trail as a political and social justice pioneer. He made his improbable quest one which enriched the lives of so many. He used his gift of intellect and diverse knowledge to attain equal footage with his peers, and they had no choice but to respect him. He understood his mission, and in the 10 years he represented the people of Georgetown District, as well as Chinese railroad workers, the freedmen, and Native Americans, he was able to bring attention to their plight. During his lifetime, he was not truly recognized for his efforts, but rather viewed more as an activist. Therefore, his portrait was not hung in the Capitol building until 2005, thanks to the lobbying of Congressman Clyburn, who now represents Congressman Rainey's district. I want to thank you all for joining me in my mission to bring more recognition to Congressman Rainey. Because of all of you, his legacy lives on. I don't know if any of you know this, but for the last probably 10 years, I've been on a mission. This is my mission now. His mission has now become my mission. And I've been trying to get more and more people to know about him. And I feel that, of course, being in the entertainment industry, that one of the best ways to get more people to know about him is by doing a film about him. So I'm very pleased to announce that today, on his birthday, I finally secured the funding and the distribution for the docudrama about Congressman Rainey's life entitled Slave in the House. I know I can count on all of you to be there to see it, and we will of course have a premiere screening here in Georgetown. Gotta be fitting to have it here. Okay, and sometimes you may not get your accolades immediately, but hard work always pays off. Thank you so much.